Hello and welcome to Players Guild. My name is Loki and I am joined by our lovely friend Scott.
Hello. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Dragon Ball Super card game digital version closed beta. We got a chance to play it this weekend. It was fun. It was very late. It was like finishing at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. But we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the bugly. So let's get into the good because surprisingly, I think to both our expectations, they were met and shattered. And it was actually a very good representation of the Dragon Ball Super card game.
Yeah, that's one of the things we were worried about is that they will try to do either too much at once
Hmm.
and then they're going to fail at that, or that is just going to be a mess, right? Because the tutorial app was, as much as it was good at teaching you how to play the game, it was a bit of a mess.
Hmm.
And no, they managed to do it very clearly. They managed to simplify a lot of concepts from the tutorial app. So if you learn how to play on the tutorial app, this is actually easier and it's clearer.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it. It's nice and clear UI design.
Hmm.
It's easy to understand. It's pretty.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think they didn't need to do, but the fact they've gone and done it, I don't ever want to hear anyone say Bandai don't care about this game ever again.
Yeah, no, they clearly care. Uh, of course, there was a history of the whole thing happening with the release of Dragon Ball, their first card game for a while that they released.
Mm.
And Dragon Ball sadly went through all the bumps, but we're on a really good way here. The game.
Yeah, and I think this is the chance, right? This is
Mm,
almost a second chance to rectify it, and we'll make another video about should this actually be a reboot, which yes, should. For the digital version only. I'm not saying reboot the entire game. But we'll go into that in another video. But I think this is the perfect chance to onboard people, learn from the mistakes of the past. You've got an entire card pool to come up with a completely new meta. And or you could go the same route. I mean, this beta didn't have Senzu Bean, it didn't have Champa,
yeah,
and it was so refreshing.
that's what I want to touch up on. We were expecting with the cards we've seen that it's either going to be a set one meta, which it
Hmm.
ended up not being, because the
No.
decks were way more balanced. At least in
Hmm.
my feeling, with what we were playing with all those six leaders, there was only one leader that was bad.
Yeah.
Uh, but the card pool is very interesting, and it feels like they're going to go the same route as Master Duel,
Hmm.
and I think that's amazing because that's going to keep the game fresh. You're not going to have people like us who used to play those 5 years ago coming into the game and knowing exactly what's going to be the best deck. There's no
Hmm.
way that we can sit down and build a aggressive Vegeta because we don't
Hmm.
have Champa, we don't have Saiyan Kaba, we don't have that red aggression, which was interesting, I must say.
Hmm.
Can't play Ginyu because there's no leader, there's no cold bloodlust, etc. And those that feels really nice, depending on
Yeah.
the card acquisition. But this feels really really nice.
And for some people, because we know there was a lot of new players in
Yes.
this beta, which is really exciting to see. I want to shout out HD Legends um, on Twitter. He's basically the guy who rips all of the HD assets from Legends, the mobile
Oh,
game.
we love him for
He
that. We love him for
he
that.
jumped in, started playing, and like dived in. He made a YouTube video. I saw if I can find his channel, I'll link it in the description of this. So go and check him out, support him. But his perspective is so important because whilst we can sit here and be like, yes, we know what all these cards do, we know all the mechanics, new players are just going to be thrown in a deep end. And if you threw them in with the entirety of Dragon Ball, you have the same issue the physical version has.
Yeah.
It's super alienating, it's not accessible, and it's basically Yu-Gi-Oh 2.0. Whereas this is simple Dragon Ball, but with the depth there to do it. And as long as they maintain that going forward, new players will always still be able to come in, and you will still have the growth and potential for people to pick it up and then get it and then transition into the physical version if they want to.
I think one of the good feedbacks that might be worth listening to, because we know that Bandai sometimes tunes into our videos, is to have a tutorials for each of the mechanics.
Yeah, I think that too, especially the more overarching concepts, right? So when you get Overrealm, I think that
I
should be
mean, even
definitely its
in
own
the
tutorial.
set that we had right now, we had cards with Union Potara, and
And
Union
Fusion.
Fusion.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was not. We even had cards with Evolve, and
Yeah, I
there's
think they could go into like just a showing of it or like a glossary or something.
I think just a quick tutorial just to explain what it entails, to show the examples that you keep the power, that you stay in the same position for the Evolve.
mm,
For the Union Potara, you keep the power, but you are always inactive. For Union Fusion, they go from hand and they need to have the same power, etc. Just show those different interactions, how they work. Because,
yeah.
of course, those are not always going to be explained. It's easier to do it on the virtual client, of course. You can
Mhm.
always have the reminder text on how it works. But I remember when Union Fusion became really good in a physical card game, a lot of people didn't know how it works
Mhm.
because they thought it was just two cards with specific names from hand, but it was
Got
no,
the same
they need to
power.
have the same power, yeah, and that started to create some issues.
Yeah.
Um, so I do hope that there is going to be um, tutorial, and I
Mhm.
do hope after filling in the survey, I have huge hopes for events,
Yeah,
cause
I think events are going to happen.
yeah,
I am 99% sure they're going to happen. Like I'm that confident.
the question is
Um,
what sort of events there will be, right?
well, yeah, that's a different story entirely, but events will happen.
Mm.
Other good things that we saw, as you know, as I like the first thing I said, and I said this when the trailer was released. This looks like it's scalable to mobile.
Yes, the UI definitely strikes as it's scalable to mobile. It's so we did a bit of an experiment. We should be able to find it in the screenshot and put it in here from when we had a lot of battle cards on board,
Hmm.
and that worries me that that might be a bit. I know that the mobile phones are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but it just makes me worry that it might be a bit too cluttered if you play with a spam deck like we did there,
Yeah, it could be, but I'm sure they'll find a
or
way.
if your opponent is playing the clone tokens.
Yeah, true. But yeah, we managed to get I think 12 on board at one point. So
Yeah,
and it wasn't too bad. Like it looked
for the
decent. It's
PC.
fine. Um, and it was fun. It was fun. It was fun doing that. Yes, you can have 60 meta coolers in the deck. Um, we wanted to see if we could go past that, but no, we weren't
No,
allowed. And yeah, I think other things like the avatar system. Granted, it was bare bones. It was basically non-existent in this form,
but the fact
but
that it's there,
yeah,
you get to
it's
personalize. Yeah, it
yeah.
is. You get to personalize. It's really nice.
Mhm.
And the deck builder on its own. I think that's something that's worth mentioning. The deck builder is really well designed. It gives you energy curve. It gives you color splits. It gives you card count. And one thing that I absolutely love, you can put more than 60 cards in your deck
Hmm.
and then cut down to what you want.
Yeah, that was a really nice feature. The only little feedback I would give on the deck builder is separate the leader from the
Yeah.
card count because it's really annoyingly confusing. And like I would like to see a more breakdown of what are 0.5s versus 1.10s in the deck as well.
Yes, the combo count
Um,
would be nice.
yeah, I think that's the only two things I would say nitpicky, and these are nitpicky things, right? They're not game breaking. They are just things that I think visually could be conveyed a little bit better.
But again, this was a closed beta. As we were playing, I must say that it does not feel like the client is ready just yet to be released because it was a
Mm.
closed beta, and let's be honest, after that we're going to have an open beta as well before the client comes
Yeah,
out.
I imagine there's
Hopefully,
going to be one or two more like there's definitely going to be at least one more, and then I think you do one more as a stress test. So I expect to see at least two, just based on how things go in the industry of game design. So
we'll see. Master Duel didn't go through any open betas,
no,
so
but that's Master Duel were just like, oh, we're just going to drop it. But Master Duel also has like 20 years of games that they've pulled from.
mm, Dragon Ball has some assets.
Yeah, Dragon Ball has assets. It's never had a card game that's based on Super Card game that they can pull from 20 years.
Kakarot has a card game.
It's not Super Card game though, is it?
I don't know what
It,
it
it
is.
at least they went with the most difficult one first. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think overall visually it was really nice. The awakening animations were super cool. The finishing animations were super cool. Um, I think the animations for like fusing and stuff, that's fine. It doesn't need to be over the top. It was cool. At least there was something. I like how they kind of fly up from board with like the little white key aura. That was really
Yeah.
neat. Um,
We also had
the
like
only
3 or 4
thing I would
different.
say
Oh yeah.
in terms of visuals is I think the SRs and foils could look a bit better, like make them a bit more shiny. But again, beta, this was to test mechanics. Aesthetic stuff can always be changed later down the
Yeah.
line. Not
I
gonna
do
crucify
hope
the
we're
game
going
for
to
that.
get something first PRs. The only feedback is regarding the finishing attacks. They should be a bit easier to proc.
Yeah,
Because we
like
spent.
so we assume they're finishing attacks, but there
Yeah.
was that one game where they procced with Goku and Vegeta and we're just like, but
What?
neither of us are dead.
Exactly.
So is it meant to be on leader swings? Because if that's the case, then they weren't procking at all most of the time. And then
Or leader hits or whatever it was, but.
yeah,
Or is it on leader hits when they're under 4? It's. I would like some
well, it wasn't super
clarification on
clear
this.
what it was meant. We
Yeah.
assume they're finisher animations, which to me makes the most sense.
Yeah. Um.
Uh,
Yeah. That was a good. What's the bad?
yeah. So the bad does I think it's very minimal that we have bad here, and again, it's more UI feedback that it is anything. So if you want to take it from the top of the bad things we found in a bit.
So the bad things that we found in the beta, I think the worst one was our first game,
Mhm.
where we get to experience a opponent just waiting out the timer.
Yeah. Yeah.
On
I
we started in the game knowing that there is those finishing animations, and we started to try go for that. So we were playing suboptimally and just trying to get the finishing attack with the leader.
Mhm.
And on the first try we managed, but an opponent didn't let us go through. It was just sitting there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was 8 minutes. He was waiting through the timer. And it felt very anticlimactic if in that situation you don't get a finishing attack.
Mhm.
So that's something I submitted in the feedback. And 2, it's just the games will take long enough because Dragon Ball is not a quick card game.
No.
The match is not going
Although
to
this
take
is
you.
best of one, so it is quite nice.
Yeah, it is best of one, which is perfectly fine because I think it would be too much. But it's majority of our games still took upwards of 25 minutes,
Yes, that's true.
which means it's not
Yeah.
a quick card game. And then if your opponent is just griefing at the end, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, so like a 2 minute to make a play or like a minute between actions or something. You know what I mean? Just something that forces them to progress game state.
Yeah,
That would
but
be
even then,
welcome. I think the 8 minute round timer that kind of ticks up when you make moves and stuff, that's nice. I think it makes sense. It's not too restrictive. Like as you say, Dragon Ball has a lot of things you can do, but the fact is like the fact that you can take 3 minutes to combo, like that shouldn't be a thing.
I think it should start lower because early on you don't have that much to do. And then I think it should start at about 3 minutes and then tick up 30 seconds every turn, or maybe a minute every turn, something along those lines. Because the fact that it starts on 8 is just a bit too much, especially on the early turns. And then
8 without no passive counter is it's a long time. You could literally just pretend that you're
yeah,
AFK for 5 minutes. Like yeah.
yeah, and the problem is that even if you're going to make a timer that requires you to take an action within 2 minutes, I know people who would just to grief just under the time limit for that, they would just combo one card and then leave for another 2 minutes and then combo another and just stall out the timer that way.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, but so you look at it like 30 seconds to a minute then. Like, it's this is the thing, this is the nuance of game design, right?
So
That you have to
we don't have a
consider.
solution for this, but we hope that there is going to be one. I think
Yeah,
that is the
basically.
best one. That's a problem we want to point out, and hopefully the devs will be able to.
The next bad thing I'll say is that when you so obviously in physical we can see what our combos are. It's really well laid out in the physical, like we know what it is. In the at least in the closed beta, like there is a way to check it, but it's really obfuscated. Like it says combo underneath the card that's attacking, and you have to click into that to find it. I would just like to see that more noticeable, like maybe make it bigger or flashy or something, and let you know that you can click into that to find the cards that are in the
I
current
think
combo.
the same as this, we have a symbols on the bottom right and upper left that lets us check different zones. I think a symbol like that, something
Because
that's
the combo is an area.
yeah, exactly. So something that would let us check it just with one click like that, and we know it's a big red button or something that we get to push
Combo.
and see what was in there.
Yeah.
And another thing that I just remembered, and I'm so sorry I'm stringing this up right now, but the cards are not ordered when they go to the drop area.
Yeah, they're not. That was weird, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that
we
I
kept
remember.
on,
Yeah,
or was it this card, or was it this card? We didn't know where was the beginning, and then the cards would be dropped like in the middle of the drop area as well.
yeah, yeah. That was a bit weird. Other thing is the reduction when a card is reduced in hand. It's green, which
Yeah.
is like it's nice that it's highlighted that it's different, but I think the green messes with the background of the green of the scouter in the top left, so it was really hard to notice. So I think if it was green and it was pulsating, or a different color entirely to make it stand out that oh this card costs more or costs less, I think that would be really cool. Um,
Mm.
and then the last bad thing, and I think this is probably my only real thing that I was like, oh that looks gross, is how field cards look. I wasn't impressed with that.
Yeah, the fact is, you can't rearrange your battle area, which is annoying in one way.
Hmm.
Because you can't drag the cards around to place them like you can do with cards in hand. And the
Hmm.
cards are played in the most random spots. Like if you have tokens, your battle cards are going to go towards front, which I can understand because you can't combo the tokens. But the rest of the cards are just going to be played randomly. And then you have a field that just there takes one of your spots on the board, which as far as we know are not limited, but it still feels weird. And we're definitely going to be testing how many cards you can have on board when the
Oh
game
yeah,
comes
like
out.
when there's private mode, we're
Yeah.
gonna be like basically, oh here are all the animations, here are all the X, Y. Like we're gonna be doing so much content we wanted to, but we're very limited. We had free play mode, which was just play random people online, which is fine. It's a bit that's what it jumps.
I mean,
But yeah,
the
when
most
we
important one was checking how the game works between other people.
yes,
That's the
and
main
yes,
purpose of the game.
when we're going to like when we have the ability to play against each other, you're going to see all kinds of things. Untapped potential is going to be better than ever. And yeah, so lots of other things. Yeah, I think that's it for the bad. And then when we come to bugs, we've heard reports from other people about certain things like Vegeta when you combo him. If there's cards underneath him, they go into the combo area.
Yeah.
There was something about Soul Striker not letting you untap. But again, like we didn't encounter those, so we can't speak to them. But it's
Uh,
important to
I
let them
think
know.
I think I know what it might be with the Soul Striker, not untapping. It
Mhm.
might be exactly the same bug we encountered, because it's not with Mafuba. It might be just with countering.
Ah, could be right. Yeah. So, which goes us on to the one major bug
Yeah,
we did find was Mafuba cancelled out our autos.
yeah. We attacked with the energy something Gotenks. The 3-drop Gotenks. When you attack a leader, they discard a card. 3-drop 15. We attacked the Mafuba, and they didn't discard a card. And we're like,
And then we're like, oh, okay, maybe they
that's
did and we missed it. And then the second time it happened, and it
yeah, because
definitely
it
didn't
happened
happen.
twice in one turn.
Yeah, it was like, okay, well, that something's definitely wrong there. Then
Yeah,
okay, it wasn't us being dumb. Something did happen.
yeah. Something was wrong, and we've done it twice. It has been done twice, and twice. The second time we actually paid attention to the cards in hand,
Mhm.
and yeah, there was no change in that. So that was the only bug we actually encountered.
Yeah.
Because with Vegito, we never really comboed it out because it was too strong to just attack with it.
Yeah. And like I say, I guess you could consider the Vegito and the Goku triggering mid battle, mid not thingy happening if it's intended as a finisher. That technically is a bug.
Yeah,
But yeah, overall, it was a really stable client. It ran amazing, which if you watch those trailers, the game rate looks super choppy, which I was like, holy shit, please don't be this bad. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was
yeah,
like solid 60. It was beautiful.
yeah. That's something we were worried about, right? Based on that trailer, the trailer didn't look great.
No, no, it was choppy.
Yeah,
But I guess it's just that the way they rendered that trailer, it just didn't do it justice. Um,
but the
yeah,
game
and
worked
so I
really,
think
really well.
overall, I left thinking this has the potential to be the best version of Dragon Ball Super card game, not only from a current standpoint, but as a reboot, get new players in, expand upon it, and yeah, like this beta gave me a lot of hope for what it can and should and will be.
Because of course, the biggest question that needs to be raised, question is, what's going to be the monetization?
Exactly, that is the elephant in the room. We know it's going to be there in some
It
shape,
has to.
way, or form.
If we want it to be a good game, we need to pay money for it, one way
Yeah,
or another.
yeah, like I don't think anyone's under the disillusionment that you will get this for free and everything will be there for free. Yeah, or you pay a premium and that expansions and cosmetics won't cost money. Like that's not realistic. This needs to remake money itself because one thing people don't understand is regardless of what happens in the physical version, this costs at minimum about $600,000
Mm.
just to make.
And then, of course, upkeep, all the servers, all the maintenance,
New
power,
new
new
time to add
content.
stuff. Yeah, the
Yeah,
live ops team, which again I will shout out. We didn't really mention it here. The communication was fantastic. The Facebook was constantly updating, and when there was the issue right at the start, it was fixed within an hour.
yeah, generally positive.
Yeah, I
I want to
think
play more.
everyone who come away from it is going to be saying the same thing. This was great.
It definitely took away the fatigue because we've been after a long day when we sat down to play it on.
Yeah, like that's a good point, right? We literally had spent an entire day playing Battle Spirit Saga.
Yeah,
We got back and then we had another great time just playing Dragon Ball
yeah.
through to like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. Um, yeah,
So,
honestly, as both of us, we've been here since the start, like importing from America. Literally, we're day zero in the UK.
yeah,
This felt great as a veteran, and I know a lot of people who have been alienated by Dragon Ball. I think this is almost the perfect way to get in. And then we'll talk about more in like what we want from it because I think that's a separate video entirely and a great discussion to have maybe live. But guys, let us know what your beta impressions were. Did you get a chance to see it? Did you get to watch some of the streams, which we're given permission for? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like Dragon Ball Super content in general. Because guess what, guys? When this beta launches, there's going to be well, when this beta launches in full, it's going to be. I can't wait. This is going to change
I
Dragon Ball
mean,
Super
we
forever.
have built just with those 6 leaders, I think 5 different decks, realistically. Because let's be
I
honest, the
mean,
Vegeta and Soul Striker were the same deck.
I was going to say but then you also include the janky stuff we did with the Zamasu to try and get that victory.
Yeah, I kind
So
of included
it was
that.
almost like 8 different decks, really.
Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of things that could be done. And the best thing is that all of them, besides the Masu, was viable.
Yeah. Which like again, that's only because it was a limited card pool. If there was some more Zamasu cards in there, then it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Well, or objection, which is bad.
Hopefully the green starter deck is going to be fixed.
Oh yeah, that is one thing. Yeah. Just before we mentioned the green Broly deck that they give you to start off with didn't have a super combo, so
Which
that was
for a
fun.
lot of people wouldn't mean anything, but.
But yeah, if you just go into the game and you didn't like know to edit that, that's like, ooh, that's a feels bad.
Especially if Broly is heavy on 1k combos.
Also,
110k.
Broly is super tall and it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, that model is ridiculous.
It's like the scale just does. And then when you have Broly and Super Saiyan and fuse the Masu, like
Yeah.
they're just like two. You know what, guys? Keep subscribed to the channel. We're gonna bring you some more content. I've been Scott Sedman, your guildmaster, joined by Loki Smith, our archivist, and we'll see you next time.